Grizzly Discovery made in Tempe.
Tempe police are trying to identify a body dumped on a side
The woman
street.
appears to have been beaten to death.
Neighbors found her naked body.
It's very concerning, the way she was dropped off, the way she was put, just, you know, she was dropped off like garbage.
Tempe police have another mystery.
A 19-year-old woman has disappeared.
Tempe police say the college student was last heard from around 4:30 yesterday morning.
This would be the second woman to be abducted or murdered during the same night in this college town.
I love Tempe. I love when I drive into work in the morning and the sun comes out on the buildings. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a great city. We have so many backgrounds and we have so many events and activities that take place that kind of appeal to everybody. It's just one of those cities that we're always progressive. If you see an area that starts to get run down, you'll see shortly after, they start building it back up with newer and better things. We're a safe town. I mean, we got the college there. A lot of people send their kids there, and they're safe.
A Grizzly Discovery made in Tempe. A woman's body found naked on a street.
June 15, 2013. Did this one stand out to you?
Oh yeah, I still remember it to this day. So it was, it's not something that you know you're gonna forget about.
Her body was dumped here in the middle of a residential neighborhood in front of, you know, normal people's houses.
I was one of a couple other officers that responded to a subject down call in reference to a female lying in the middle of the road.
All I can say is that she was killed by blunt force trauma.
So I just remember seeing the blanket over her deceased body in kind of on the roadway. And then I was asked by a supervisor to just canvass the area. Meaning I would go to the surrounding neighborhood and residences and just kind of go door to door, knocking on doors, just trying to make contact with residents to see if they had seen anything, heard anything.
What we don't know is why was that location chosen and why was she put in that specific location.
Do you remember back then if any of the neighbors provided any useful information?
I didn't make any contact with anybody that had seen anything.
This composite picture distributed statewide.
That night, you had a death of a 23-year-old and then a 19-year-old disappears.
A Valley family desperately trying to find their missing daughter. This is 19-year-old Adrienne Salinas.
Did that stand out that that was unique, that would happen to two different girls the same night?
I would think so.
Salinas' father found her car today 2 blocks away from her apartment.
If you know where Salinas is, Tempe police want to hear from you.
If you think you have any information whatsoever, please do call authorities.
Can I just get you to say and spell your first and last name so we have that on camera?
Yep, Alan Akey, A-L-A-N-A-K-E-Y.
You're a sergeant with the Tempe Police Department, and what do you oversee?
Right now I oversee the Homicide Missing Persons Unit.
Was that an odd week for the city of Tempe Police Department to have 2 cases like that going on at the same time?
Well, yeah. But initially with Adrian's case, a missing college-age student in Tempe is not super odd. It's just because a lot of times kids will go out partying, they could meet somebody, they could take a trip somewhere, do different things. So your heightened sense of awareness of, oh, is this a serious crime or not, isn't necessarily the first thing you think about with a missing college student.
Was there any thought at the time that these might be connected?
No, not at that time. Like, obviously it's in the back of our mind, okay, you have a deceased who had been murdered, female, and now you have a missing one.
Tempe police continue to look for a missing woman. They tell us that Adrian Salinas disappeared Saturday morning around 4:30. She reportedly called her boyfriend to tell him she was on her way over, but never made it.
Flyers are posted all around Tempe of a missing 19-year-old girl who her mom is desperate to find.
I give you a flyer. My daughter's been missing since Saturday morning. If you could here to help us, thank you.
And tonight at sunset, divers using sonar equipment started combing Tempe Town Lake for her body. As the search continues, her family is still holding out hope while fearing the worst.
Broken-hearted and her not being with me. You know, my life is totally changed.
Do you remember the last time you saw her?
I was in my apartment. And I remember her leaving, and she was going, and I remember hugging her, and I think every parent has that thought that they want to hold their children, and you know, and way back in your mind somewhere, you just hope nothing that's going to happen to them, you know, and then they're going to be fine, and for that some reason, I remember giving her an extra long hug, you know, and I don't know why.
When did you start to think something was wrong?
I remember it was Father's Day weekend.
Happy Father's Day, of course, to all the dads out there. And
I didn't hear from her that Saturday, but it's, you know, I just figured I'd see her on Sunday. I called a couple times Saturday and she wouldn't answer, so I thought something might be wrong. I was a little worried. Sunday morning I went over there because I hadn't heard from her, and as the day went on, it was 9 and 10 o'clock, and I thought, you know, I better go check on her, so I went in there. The thing that really hit me was the door was open on her apartment. Saturday night she wasn't there. Nobody had talked to her Saturday night, so she was gone. After many calls to everybody that I knew that, you know, that something was wrong, so that's when I made that 911 call.
It was really her father who brought it to our attention that, hey, this is not normal for my daughter. You know, even though maybe that's more normalcy for college students, this is not normal for my daughter.
She's not a troubled child. She's not a runaway.
Family and friends held a prayer vigil and passed out missing person posters in a park in Tempe. Salinas' mother, Suzanne Koss, wants her daughter back.
I don't know if she's hungry, if she's hot, if she's nourished.
How did you first meet Adrian? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was sometime into the school year in 6th grade. I want to say it was sometime in the 2nd semester. She was definitely very reserved in her own way. Had this almost Intimidating intelligence about her, for sure. We ended up becoming best friends, so.
Best friends?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
I mean, that's probably one of the biggest titles I could give somebody. I take friendship very, very seriously. I mean, it's the family we choose for ourselves.
Would the Adrian that you knew have gotten into a car with a stranger?
Not willingly.
A Grizzly Discovery made in Tempe, a woman's body.
After police released this sketch, a tip came in IDing the body as 23-year-old Avid Begay.
They recognized her as a friend, somebody that used to live with her.
That is 23-year-old Vedwin Begay. And once police knew who she was, they say they also knew who killed her.
When I first met her, she introduced herself to me as Anne. And then I would hear her sister sometimes calling her Anna. I think it was maybe the third or fourth time that we were shooting archery together was when I learned her full name was Anna Vedwin from my uncle. And he says, I'm not sure how to say her name. And so I looked at the sheet and kind of cocked my head to the side and I was like, I don't know either. This is a young woman who's very shy, but she had such a fierce spirit about her. We were in the Dinnett College archery team together, and we would have conversations about where we had been, what we wanted to do in life, where we were thinking of where we would end up. Our ideas at that time were mostly about family, mostly about coming back home and being able to eventually help out here. And she was very, very much really close with her sister.
It was always her and I. It was always the both of us.
When you describe Anna to people, how do you describe her?
She's a very intelligent person. She was a very smart, caring, loving person, very kind-hearted. She spent summers down there, you know, taking college courses while I was up here with my dad and my grandma. She did like the city. Everything was convenient. Everything was just a walking distance. Here we have to travel more than 2 hours to get our actual necessities. We always try to support her, take her down, try and set some money aside to help her, you know, get where she wanted to go.
Were you worried about her?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was worried the day she left.
He's being booked into the county jail, and he didn't have a lot to say about the crime, but you know, we're just happy to say that he's in custody, he's off the street.
He is 27-year-old Douglas Ray George. He was arrested 1 week prior to Anna Vedwin's death for domestic violence and is now accused of not only beating but killing his girlfriend, then dumping her body in the street.
I've been trying to be polite and soft with you, but you and I both know what I'm investigating. Okay? You know and I know that I'm investigating a murder. What's going to happen?
Well, you're going to pin it on me.
Tell me what happened.
Prime suspect, right?
Tell me what happened.
I did nothing. And I don't have enough money for a lawyer, but I would like to be appointed one. And having said that, I do not have to speak with you any further.
You're right.
you meet Douglas George?
Yes.
What was your impression of him?
He was really reserved. He was very quiet. I don't know, something about him just didn't feel right.
She called me just kind of randomly and was like, hey, how you doing? I'm here in Phoenix. And I said, oh my gosh, that's awesome. She's like, I have my boyfriend with me, and she seemed really happy. She seemed like she was doing really well. 3 or 4 days later, she called me and she said, well, we're wanting to move in the area and we were wondering if we could stay with you for a bit.
Did you ever get a weird vibe from him?
Oh, most definitely. There was a point where we heard them arguing and we saw the kind of pushing and such. And my cousin kind of got in between there, and she had to tell him, you know, you need to leave now and you're not welcome back here. And you may stay here as long as you like, but he is no longer welcome here.
On June 4th, things got physical. A clerk at a Tempe Circle K called police to report the couple fighting in the parking lot. Begay told officers George slammed her head into a car door, but refused to press charges.
Why do you think she stayed with this guy?
I'm not sure. I think that there was a large part of her wanting to feel accepted, wanting to feel loved. At this point in time, she had gotten her own apartment. Maybe a week went by and I hadn't seen her physically. Her uncle called my uncle, who called me, and said, have you seen Anne lately? And I didn't really think too much of it because I had been text messaging her. I don't remember how long it was after that her uncle called me personally and said, hey, there's a picture going around in Tempe. We still can't get a hold of her, and it kind of looks like her. I opened the email and I saw her birthmark and I saw the description on the bottom, and my heart dropped. I instantly started calling her and calling her and calling her, and I kept getting sent to voicemail, 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 voicemail. And then I got the text messages, hey, you're going to get me in trouble. I'm at work right now.
And that was him texting you, pretending to be her?
Yes. So for about a week and a half, he had been corresponding with me as her. And at that point in time, I instantly called the police department. So I had 2 detectives come over to my dad's house when they asked for a description, and I still remember the look that they gave each other. I knew. My heart dropped. I was still hopeful in my head, but my heart knew.
Do you feel or sense your sister when you're here?
Oh yes, I do. I always feel like she's here. She's watching over me. She's watching everything I do, watching everything I say, like she always does, and I feel her here.
What is the most frustrating or biggest question that you have looking back on this whole situation?
I guess, just why this particular night?
What do we know now about Adrian that night?
What we know is that she's at the party with her friends.
Whenever we'd have parties, we would invite anyone and everyone that we could gather. And this night didn't start out much different. It was a very big party, sprawled out into the front yard. There were many people there.
What was your first instinct, your first impression of what you thought happened, just knowing that?
I mean, abduction. That's the only thing I could think of.
Was it a mysterious stranger? Was it somebody she knew? Was it...
From just listening to her friends and family, she's not the type to just go with any stranger.
So we have the boyfriend, and we have 40 people at the party, and then you have this sort of odd cab driver. At what point did you start to think, wow, there are a lot of people in this who could become persons of interest?
Pretty early, because nobody passed the polygraph of all the people that took them.
So everybody who took the polygraph pretty much had some sort of indication that they were not being truthful?
Right. Well, it's just weird that every time I had somebody take a polygraph and then I talked to the polygrapher and they're like, well, yeah, there's some indications, of deception or something going on.
We begin tonight with breaking news. The human remains found in the Far East Valley are that of Adrian Salinas.
We have learned a missing Tempe college student has been found dead in the desert.